Hello, I'm SeaMonster51, and these are my 2024 NFL playoff predictions. Last week I went 11-5 back in week 18, and I finished 188 and 84 in the year. If we do the math, I got 69% of my picks right for the regular season. Nice. And now we're going to predict the playoffs here. Earlier today, the Texans beat the Chargers, which I'll admit, I had the Chargers winning that game. But oh well, let's move on. And right now we have Ravens versus Steelers going on, in which it's an easy game to predict. The Ravens are easily going to win. Let's be honest. Especially with the Steelers losing their last four regular season games. Losing your last four regular season games is just not a recipe for success. So I'm going to pick the Ravens to move on to the divisional round, just like the Texans earlier today. Okay, and then tomorrow we're going to have Broncos, who are the number 7 seed, versus the Bills, who are the number 2 seed. You know, this could be a competitive game, but with Bo Nix just being a rookie quarterback, rookie quarterbacks don't really have much success on the road in the playoffs. In fact, I don't know if I remember a rookie quarterback having success on the road in the playoffs, other than maybe Mark Sanchez back in '09. Well, he led the Jets all the way to the AFC Championship that year. But ever since then, I can't really remember another quarterback who did have success on the road. So I'm gonna pick the more experienced team, the Bills, to move on to the divisional round. Okay, now we're gonna do the NFC side now. I think we should start with Packers versus Eagles, which that's gonna be the 3:30 game tomorrow. You know the Packers kind of struggled in their last two regular season games, including last week when they lost to the Bears. You know that was not a good loss for the Packers, especially when you got their head coach man the floor calling timeouts when they should have ran more clock out. That's well, that's pretty shocking. The way that they lost last week against the Bears, in which I think is if they let the clock run out instead of calling a timeout, they probably win that game. Wow, that was bad. That was really bad. But I am also hearing that their linebacker Quay Walker might play in this game, and he hasn't played in a while. And I think their rookie safety too, Evan Williams might play in this game too. And the Eagles are gonna get Jalen Hurts back from missing the last two games with a concussion. And the way that I see this game playing out, it's very similar to when the Packers played the Vikings 2 weeks ago, where the Packers dig themselves in a hole and they, they don't ever come out of it. I could see the Eagles getting out to, I don't know, 21-3 lead maybe. And the Packers try to claw back and they never do. In fact, I'll give you a score prediction. I'm gonna say Eagles 31, Packers 23, and the Eagles are moving on to will move on to the divisional round. Okay, now let's do Commanders versus Bucks. And we got another great rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels going up against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. You know, Jaden Daniels had an amazing rookie season this year. And I think part of the reason is the offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. You know, I'll say that Cliff Kingsbury is one of the best offensive minds in football. Because don't get me wrong, when he was head coach at Texas Tech, they always had an amazing offense. Even when Patrick Mahomes wasn't at Texas Tech anymore, when they had Nick Shimonek back in 2017, he threw 33 touchdowns and 4,000 yards. That's pretty good. That's pretty good offense right there. Now the reason why he couldn't win at Texas Tech was because those defenses were terrible. They were always some of the worst in the country. And he honestly wasn't a very good recruiter. At least not on the defensive side of the ball at Texas Tech. So that's why things didn't work out there. Okay, but anyways, you know, this game is in Tampa, and I think that's gonna help the Bucks a lot in this game. You know, like I said earlier, it's really hard for a rookie quarterback to go on the road and win a playoff game. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with the Bucks. But I also say this: I definitely wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders win on the road. You know what I'm remembering now is I think Russell Wilson won a playoff game on the road back in 2012 against the Commanders, who were called the Redskins at the time. Okay, but anyways, let's move on to the Monday night game, which is gonna be Vikings versus Rams. From what I'm hearing, this game will be moved to Arizona, I believe, because of all the wildfires that are going on in California right now. So this will pretty much be a neutral site playoff game in which the Vikings winning 14 games in the regular season. Like, if this keeps going on year after year, where you see a number 5 seed win 13, 14 games, they should probably change the NFL rules at that point. Because I don't think I agree with a 14-win team having to go on the road in a playoff game. And if you win your division with only 10 wins, you should be one of the lower seeded teams. I don't know. But anyways, you know, I think the Vikings are the more talented team. And this also being a neutral site game. So I'm gonna pick Sam Darnold in the Vikings to win and move on to the divisional round. Okay, now let's do the divisional round. First, we got Ravens versus Bills. And wow, this is a very good game right here. You know, in years past, we've seen the Bills lose a few playoff games at home, especially one of them being in the snow against the Bengals. And then you got Lamar Jackson playing at a very high level. and who just last year they played for the AFC Championship game. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with the upset here. Yeah, and I think the Ravens win in Buffalo. It will move on to the AFC Championship game. Okay, now we got Texans versus Chiefs. The Texans who had a pretty impressive win earlier today against the Chargers. You know, their defense was forcing turnovers left and right, but still, the the Chiefs are probably the definitely the best team in the AFC. And I know they rested their starters back in Week 18, and that could have an effect because we've seen teams before where they rest their starters in Week 18, and they also rest in the wild card round. And their players, they're gonna be without any game time for 3 weeks now. But still, I just don't see the Texans winning that Arrowhead. So give me the Chiefs to win and move on to the AFC Championship game. Okay, now we got Bucks versus Eagles. You know the Bucks made it to the divisional round last year too, and they also hung with the Lions in that game. I think they lost by what 8 points last year. Yeah, and I could see it being a pretty similar game to when they played the Lions last year, where they kind of hang around the Eagles, but I just think the Eagles have the better rosters, the better players, and then it being in Philly, and then Jalen Hurts will already have 2 weeks of game time since he came back from his concussion. So as long as nothing crazy happens with no crazy injuries or anything like that, I'm gonna pick the Eagles to win and move on to the NFC Championship game. And then we got Vikings versus Lions. You know the Lions beat the Vikings pretty handily just a few weeks ago. In fact, just last week, back in Week 18, and same thing. I think Lions are just a better team than the Vikings. And then I'm not convinced by Sam Darnold either. I'm just not. I know he had a great year and everything, but I don't know. There's a reason why he did kind of bounce around in the league before that. And he was getting pressured a lot. And I've noticed that when he gets pressured a lot, he he's just not as good. And I think Lions are probably going to do the same thing in this game. So give me the Lions to win and move on to the NFC Championship game. Okay, we got Ravens versus Chiefs and Eagles versus Lions. Okay, let's do the AFC Championship first. We got the rematch from last season, except this championship game is going to be played at Arrowhead. You know, Lamar Jackson For as good as he was, and didn't he win MVP last year? Yeah, I think so. As good as he was and all that, he was not good in the AFC Championship game last season. And with this game being at Arrowhead, yeah, I just don't see it happening. Well, on the other hand, Patrick Mahomes, he always steps up in the playoffs. So I'm gonna pick the Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl for the third year in a row and be as close as ever to three-peating. Okay, now let's move on to the NFC Championship game. You know, even though this game is in Detroit, I think I'm going to pick the Eagles to win. With the reason being that they've been there and done that already. They won the Super Bowl back in 2017, and they also played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. While the Lions last year, when they played in the NFC Championship game, they crumbled in the second half against the 49ers last season. Those two fourth down conversions, those two fourth downs that they went for, they were terrible. They should have kicked the field goal. And who knows? They could also crumble in this game too, for all we know. So give me the Eagles to win in Detroit and reach Super Bowl 59. Okay, so there you go. Chiefs versus Eagles in Super Bowl 59. And this could be a very competitive game. Like Super Bowl 57, like when these two teams already played each other 2 years ago. I could see it being a very competitive game. One that comes down to who has the ball last type of game. And I think I trust the Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs a little bit more than the Eagles. So I think the Chiefs win and not repeat as Super Bowl champions. And there you go. That'll wrap up the 2024 NFL season with the Chiefs winning their third straight Super Bowl. Now let me know your predictions. See you later.